It seems many of us are going through a period of despair and sadness. Spirit wants to say to those of you that are feeling alone, that are feeling isolated and lonely, perhaps all of them synonyms. It wants to say to those of you that are not in sync with your spirits, to the ones that have walked away from your spirit, the ones that are left feeling stranded by your emotions, by the different experiences you've been going through, the ones that are feeling ostracized from the world. It wants to say that you are not any of that. You are none of those things. You are very much loved by the universe, by it, source energy, by spirit. The reason why you are feeling this way, lonely, lost, disconnected, is because you have wandered too far away from your essence. You have walked away from the energy that you are. You've forgotten who you truly are at your core, who you have always been and always will be. It doesn't matter where you are or what you do or how you behave. At the center of your being, you will find the same energy that you find at the center of the universe, at the center of creation. You are the one who has been chosen to awaken to this earth, to this planet, to the beauty of it all. You are the one who chose to come here, and some of you were also sent. In the end, both are an option. They were a choice. You made that choice. Even if just by accepting the assignment, that at no point was meant as a punishment. You were never meant to come here and suffer or live through lack or abandonment or constant pain. That wasn't the point of coming here. And perhaps you were invited to come or were sent here because in another dimension, in another planet, perhaps in another place, you were already in that pain, in that isolation, carrying this energy of being abandoned and alone. And so you were sent here to realize that was not truth. Loneliness, punishments are a lie. None of us were invited or sent here to suffer. Not even the ones that are meant to awaken the others by awakening to themselves first. Earth is not a prison and not always a school. It's really a blessing. It's a playground. is a place of retreat. It's a place of recovery. And it might sound crazy to say those things because for many years, what we have experienced, many of us, is not really that. And at the eyes of many, with all that's going on, Earth is not really a very welcoming, warm place. But that's what it was meant to be. That's what it has always meant to be. It really is a gift, the physicality. The opportunity to walk in two legs, to feel, to smell, to taste. It is a gift. It is meant as a reward, perhaps, and also an intervention for lost souls that are meant to find themselves again in this experience. So it's not that you came here as a punishment, but an invitation to leave your punishing behaviors behind. As an invitation, an opportunity for you to realize that there is beauty everywhere, and especially in this planet. There is a lot of beauty in nature. There are amazing landscapes all over the world for you to enjoy. It really doesn't matter where you are. You can find, if you want, beauty in the eyes of the people next to you, in the works of art that are drawn all over the city, in the restaurants, at the cinema, through music, at concerts, or in your own house. What Source wants you to know, what it wants you to see is beauty. It's the beauty that surrounds you. It is a matter of perspective. The experience you are going through in here, it's a matter of changing the lenses through which you are looking at reality, through which you are looking at yourself. You are not at loss, soul. You are essence, you are source, you are spirit. You have always been that. But perhaps you forgot much before you came here, much before you incarnated. And sending you here to this planet was kind of a corrective measure of your blindness. It was a corrective measure of your stubbornness and your reluctance to see your light. Perhaps you were already blind to it even before coming here. And because you carried that blindness with you already when you incarnated, it just magnified. It just became bigger, stronger, more prominent. But the intention, the purpose of bringing you here, of inviting you here, was for you to finally realize, to finally see. Perhaps it was their last resource Spirit had to, in a way, save you from yourself. You did not come here to create hell on earth. You came here to see the paradise that was already here, the heaven that is already here. We got sidetracked though. We misunderstood the assignment. We misunderstood the invitation, and then we just went and created a difficult situation for ourselves, and we proved through our creations that lack mentality, that suffering that we were already carrying before coming in here. And so the consequences of our disconnection from ourselves are seen throughout the earth. It's as if a spirit comes and tells you, look at this beautiful paradise in here, look at this beauty, and it shows you the planet through the eyes of your body, your physical body. But then you reply back, showing spirit, dead, and hunger, and lies, and robbery, and wars. You tell it, no, don't you see? Look at all these horrible things that are happening in here. There is no beauty. There is no source. There is no heaven. But you are looking at the same thing source is looking at, but from a different perspective, from a different level. It doesn't mean war is not real. It doesn't mean suffering is non-existent. It's there. It's very much there for the ones who want to focus on it. And there are many of us wanting to focus on it or already focusing on all of that. But the Spirit is saying, with all of this spiritual talk, with all this energy variants, with all the different modalities, energy modalities, and books and videos and messages out there, is trying to bring you up to its level and show you what it's seeing. It wants to show you, no, look, you are looking at the wrong thing, and wants to bring you up to its level so you can see what it sees. It doesn't mean ignoring. Raising our consciousness, looking at life, at the world, at ourselves, the way Source looks at us doesn't mean war will automatically disappear. Or perhaps yes, if enough of us change the lenses, change the perspective, change the vibration of our thoughts, we will need to do that, many of us, at the same time, for it to really be able, for Earth, for the planet, for the energy to truly be able to shift that drastically. Even if one of us changes vibration, even if one of us at a time shifts its vibration, its mind, all of those horrible things we are still experiencing in here will eventually disappear. Time is of the essence. Time is the fabric through which the difference between today and tomorrow is time. Time is the avenue, the way that takes us from one reality to the next. And we can decide how fast or how slow are we going to step into that new reality, into that new paradigm, into that new way of seeing things, of living life. It is not up to Spirit to change the world, and at the same time it is, but not in the way we imagine it to be. We cannot blame God for not being willing or able to finish wars, to stop famine, to eradicate violence. Because we are God. We are asking a supreme consciousness to eliminate our problems. And asking God, asking consciousness, is really just asking ourselves. The fight we are fighting is against us. We are fighting with ourselves as consciousness and as human beings. Imagine there is a person being pulled by the arms in one direction by another person, and on the other direction by another person. One person, the person on the right side perhaps, is asking to please help me eradicate hunger, and pulls that way. The other person is asking, please help me be rich above everyone else. Doesn't matter who I step into when I do that. Doesn't matter who I hurt. And then pulls on that direction. And so the person in the middle wants to give both ways because it is neutral. It is everything is whole. But all of the people involved in this scenario don't realize that they are the same person. They are the same energy. We are the ones pulling on the right, saying, please eliminate war, violence, poverty. And we are also the ones pulling on the left, saying, perpetrate war, give me, only me, no matter what. I want to be the supreme being on this planet. I want to be better than anyone else. I don't care what happens to the rest as long as I am fine. And we also are the consciousness in the middle that wants to create both worlds because we are asking it to, because it can. So we need to align. We need to align with ourselves and realize that the person in the left, the ones that wants to create wars and violence, is also part of Source. Is also Source consciousness. That's why it can create. That's why that reality is there and exists. But it has veered off the path. It has gone astray. It has lost its sight on who it is and where it comes from. It has almost completely disconnected from the light. But it still carries the seed of consciousness within. That darkness is still light somewhere. We need to realize that the people that create the conflicts in the world are not our enemies. They might look like, but they are not. They are just another part of us. Another part, misunderstood perhaps, part of our consciousness. We might need to understand, why do I want to create war when in my heart, when in my soul, I really know I don't want to. So then why do I do that? Why do I create wars? And you might not be the one, the president of any nation. You might just be, to call you somehow, a normal citizen. You might say, well, it's not me. I do not create that. Perhaps not in a big scale. But how do you create conflicts in a smaller scale? How do you create wars within yourself? How do you reject your own bits, your own mind, your own family, your own body? How do you create conflicts in your neighborhood, in your job, in the streets, with your partner, with yourself? Let's not go that far. How do you create conflicts within yourself? By not accepting that who you are in all aspects, in the grays, in the blues, in the browns, in the lighter colors, in the very dark colors? How do you reject yourself and separate yourself, from your light? The more we come into ourselves, the more congruent our thoughts, the more accepting of who we are, the easier it will be to eradicate wars, violence, famine, and all of those things that we don't desire to see in the world. But it's time that we stop fighting with ourselves. The reason why you feel isolated from the world, misunderstood, abandoned, is because you have abandoned yourself. It's because you have misunderstood yourself in ways that you don't even know how. You have chosen the isolation for yourself. And you can say, no, that's not true. I haven't done that. But if you look closer, if you are really honest with yourself, you will find the level at which you have done that. You will find it if you really want. You will realize that it is true, it is real, that we create our own reality. We create the things that happen to us. The events, the people, the experiences, we draw them to ourselves. Perhaps not consciously, but very much unconsciously. The vibration, the strand, the chord, the personality, the aspect of you that is bringing to your life those experiences you don't want to experience is somewhere there within you. It's expressing yourself through you. If you are not living the life you wish to live, if on an 80 or 90% in your life there isn't harmony, or rather if 90 or 80% of your life is not harmony, then there is a conflict, an internal conflict. There is a discrepancy between what you desire and what you are manifesting. There might even be conflict between your desires. On one hand, you might desire to be loved and accepted, and on the other hand, you might tell yourself you are not worth of that love, that you should not be accepted. And so we go back again to the analogy of pulling consciousness on one side and pulling consciousness on the other side, and then consciousness creates both, or it creates based on who pulls harder, which side is pulling harder. As long as there is conflict within us, there will be conflict outside of us. Even if we are not the ones pulling the trigger, even if we are not the ones authorizing or giving the order to shoot, if we are not the ones dropping the bombs, flying the planes, we are contributing to the energy of war by cultivating the energy of war within. It isn't as hard as we believe it is to create harmony, to live in peace, to accept ourselves, to love ourselves. It's not as hard as you might imagine, but it requires willingness. It requires perhaps a little bit of dedication, a little bit of diligence. You want to do this, you come to terms with all of you, with all the parts that are you, the pretty ones, the not so pretty ones, the more or less ones. Because when you accept them, you realize that all of them are actually amazing, all of them are great, and all of them are beautiful in their own way. They all have a purpose. And when you realize that they all have a purpose, then they all become one. They all become the same. It's only our minds or our judgment not to blame the mind, because it's nothing to blame there. There is nothing to blame. The mind is a beautiful energy. It's a beautiful tool. It just responds to what we feed it, what we let it create. So perhaps it's our judgment, the one that needs to be steered in a different direction, the one that needs to be led differently. Perhaps is your understanding of life the one that needs to change your perspective, the filter through which you see yourself and you see the world. You are not alone. You are not being isolated by source, by spirit, by God. Is there with you. Within you, you carry it. You are it. You can never be disconnected from yourself. It's impossible. You can walk away and feel like you are not yourself. Actually, if you are depressed or really angry or really sad or frustrated or in fear, what has happened is you've walked too far away from who you are. And even then, even in that situation, you carry yourself within you. You carry a seed of your energy, a seed of your consciousness, a seed of who you are. Even then, it's impossible to stop being who you are. Even the lowest vibration energies, the densest energies in the really dense realities, they are still carrying a glimpse of source consciousness within. So forgive yourself from not being who you wish you were, from the mistakes you have committed, for the difficulties you have put yourself through, for not being the being you were expecting to be by whatever age you are now, for not utilizing or embracing or accepting, seeing your full potential, for having wasted your time in a relationship, in a project, in a person. Time is really never wasted. It's invested in what needs to be invested then. There is a reason why you stayed, whether you stayed that long there, whether because of the person you were with needed you, because you needed to stay that long in that energy so you could understand that that was not the right way to live. Perhaps because there was something you needed to give to the project or business or house you were in. There truly are no mistakes, just prolonged experiences that needn't be prolonged if we were more aware of the ever-changing rhythm of the universe. If we were able to read energy more accurately, we will realize when it's time to move, and we will obey that knowing. But if you were not attuned before, or you are not yet attuned to that rhythm yet, to the rhythm of nature, that in the end is your rhythm, because you are also nature, you come from there, you can learn. There is always time to learn. So don't waste your time, not because it can be wasted, but because you can invest it in a different thing, in a different way. You can use it more on your benefit. So if there is despair in your heart, know that you aren't alone. This is not the end yet. There is always a way out. There is always a solution. Call Spirit back to you. Whichever way you call it. You can call it God. You can call it resilience. You can call it universe. You can call it source. You can call it your mind. You can call it anything. Just call that essence, that thing that gives you power, that is your power towards you. And it's never something outside of you. Just call it back into you. Connect with it again. Strengthen that connection. Reawaken your faith. And you won't feel alone anymore. Because you aren't. And the Spirit loves you very much. It wants you to know that. It doesn't matter who you are, what you have done, where you are, how much you have. Regardless of all of it, the Spirit loves you. It wants you to be happy. It wants you to see your power. It wants you to succeed, whatever definition you give to success, whatever it means to you. It wants you to be at peace, at ease with yourself. It wants you to thrive and to truly live. So just remember that whenever you are feeling down or whenever you feel like your strength is disappearing, evaporating, just remember Spirit is always there. Energy is always around you, everywhere. You can always recharge. You can always call it back to you because it's around you all the time. So just do that. Call the Spirit back into you. Allow it to work with you and through you. And you will see how your life changes.